When darkness falls, terror awakens. In the heart of an isolated town, shrouded in the blackest of nights, a chilling tempest has taken hold. The wind, a relentless phantom, howls through the narrow, deserted streets, its icy grip tugging at the worn edges of aging homes. Each creak and groan of the wooden structures echoes in the silence, a haunting symphony of the unseen. Every tick of the clock deepens the darkness, and with it, the sense of unease. The storm outside rages on, indifferent to the fear it stirs within the hearts of the town's inhabitants. They huddle in their homes, their breaths held in apprehension. For they know, as the old saying goes, when darkness falls, terror awakens. Tonight is one such night. A night where the air is thick with anticipation, and the shadows seem to dance with a life of their own. The town, normally buzzing with life, has now fallen silent, surrendering to the storm and the bone-chilling dread that it brings. This dread is not unfounded. It is born out of a local legend, whispered from generation to generation. A tale of a creature, elusive as the wind, and as fearsome as the storm. It is said to emerge on nights like these, drawn out from the shadows by the rage of the tempest. Some say it's a beast, others claim it's a specter, but no one knows for sure. Its true form remains a mystery, concealed within the heart of the storm. Its presence, however, is unmistakable. A chilling wind that cuts straight to the bone, a sudden drop in temperature, and then the eerie silence before the storm. It is these signs that herald the creature's arrival. The townsfolk hold their breath, their hearts pounding in their chests. They clutch their blankets tighter, their eyes wide with fear and anticipation. The storm outside intensifies, the wind howling louder, as if in a frenzied celebration of the terror that's about to descend upon the town. And so, on this dreadful night, the terror was about to awake once again. Every town has a story, and ours is a tale of horror. In the heart of our town, there's a legend that sends shivers down the spine. A story that echoes in the silence of the night, a tale that haunts our dreams. This legend is known as the Shadow. On nights when the storm clouds gather and the world is blanketed in darkness, the Shadow makes its appearance. It's not just a phantom or a specter, no, it's something far more terrifying. It's a shapeshifter. A creature that has the power to take the form of your deepest, darkest fears. It preys on terror, feeds on dread, and relishes in the panic it induces. This creature, this shadow, is as old as the town itself. The first accounts date back to the founding days, when the town was but a small settlement. The elders speak of a night much like this one, a night of thunder and lightning, when the shadow first appeared. It was from that day forward the town lived in fear. A fear that grew with each passing storm. Past encounters with the Shadow are etched into the town's memory. There's the tale of the blacksmith, a man known for his courage, who was reduced to a trembling mess after a night with the Shadow. Or the story of the school teacher, a woman of intellect and reason, who refused to leave her house after the sunset for fear of meeting the Shadow. Each story is more chilling than the last, painting a picture of a creature that is relentless, ruthless, and reveling in our fear. It's an entity that embodies the very essence of horror, turning our worst nightmares into a grim reality. Tonight, as the storm rages once more, the town holds its breath. Will the Shadow return? Will it once again strike terror into the hearts of the townsfolk? Only time can tell. As for now, we wait and listen to the howling wind, the only sound in a town gripped by fear. Tonight, the storm rages once more and the town holds its breath. In the heart of the storm, an encounter was inevitable. Enter our protagonist, a figure of courage and curiosity, daring enough to challenge the whispered legend. As the wind howled and the rain lashed, he ventured out into the tempest, a lone beacon of resolve amidst the chaos. Little did he know, his bravery was to be put to the ultimate test. As he trudged on, the night grew thicker with suspense. Unusual sounds like whispers from the shadows echoed around him. The wind seemed to carry eerie melodies, as if the storm itself was alive, watching, waiting. His heart pounded in rhythm with the thunder, a symphony of anticipation that filled the air. The world around him seemed to twist and contort, playing tricks on his senses. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, elusive and quick. They moved with an intelligence that was far too human, far too knowing. His every instinct screamed that he was not alone, that he was being observed, scrutinized by unseen eyes. The chilling realization of being watched seeped into his bones, turning his blood colder than the rain that soaked him through. He was in the heart of the storm, a place where the line between the natural and the supernatural blurred, where legends took form and reality was twisted into terrifying shapes. Yet, he pressed on, his bravery unwavering. He was a man on a mission, a man challenging the unknown. The whispers grew louder, the shadows bolder, the feeling of being watched more intense. The storm seemed to close in around him, its every gust, every drop of rain echoing the terror that lay ahead. The noises, the shadows, the chilling sensation, they were all pieces of a puzzle, a horrifying riddle that was slowly falling into place. The storm was not just a storm, it was a prelude, a dreadful symphony leading up to a chilling climax. In the face of fear, he stood alone, unaware of what was about to unfold. In the eye of the storm, he found himself face to face with his fear. The moment had arrived. The pulse of the night reached its highest crescendo, the rhythm of terror throbbing in the dark. The shadow, a malignant embodiment of the character's deepest, most primal fear, materialized before him. This was no ordinary fear. It was not the fear of the dark, or of heights, or of spiders. It was something far more profound, far more personal. It was the fear of his own insignificance, the fear of his loneliness, the fear of his mortality. The shadow took form, a grotesque mirror reflecting his inner turmoil, a monstrous caricature of his own self-doubt and despair. The air grew dense, the atmosphere heavy with tension. His breath came in short, sharp gasps, each one echoing his rising panic. His heart pounded in his chest, a frantic drumbeat echoing in the stillness. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, to escape the terror that stood before him. But where could he run? How could he escape from something that was a part of him? The shadow advanced, its form shifting, morphing, a constantly changing tableau of his deepest fears. It was relentless, inexorable. It was as if he was trapped in a nightmare, a dreadful dream from which he could not awake. But in that moment of paralyzing terror, something unexpected happened. A spark of resilience flickered within him, a determination, a defiance that he had never known before. He stared back at the shadow, at his fear, and he did not look away. He stood his ground, his heart still pounding, but now with a different rhythm, a rhythm of courage, of resolve, of strength. And so he found himself at the precipice of his fear, staring into the abyss. But instead of falling, he was standing tall, standing strong, not because he was fearless, but because he had faced his fear, acknowledged it, and chosen to fight. In the face of his fear, he discovered an unexpected strength. Sometimes the only way out is through. Those words echoed in our protagonist's mind as he faced the shadow, the very embodiment of his fear, a dark specter that had haunted his town, and yet a reflection of his own dread. It was a chilling realization, one that gripped him tighter than the storm that raged around them. But fear, as he came to understand, was a strange and powerful thing. It could paralyze, it could torment, it could consume. However, it could also enlighten, embolden, and most importantly, it could change. In that moment, our protagonist chose to change. He chose to face his fear, to confront the shadow. As he stood his ground, something remarkable happened. The shadow began to waver, its form flickering like a dying flame. His fear, the fuel that fed the shadow, was dissipating. He was no longer a victim, but a challenger, a beacon of courage in the face of terror. And then, as swiftly as the storm had arrived, it subsided. The shadow, no longer sustained by his fear, vanished into the ether, leaving behind nothing but the echoes of its reign. Our protagonist, the once fearful, now fearless, walked home under the clearing skies. He was forever changed by this encounter, marked by an experience that few could comprehend. The town, which had held its breath in collective fear, now breathed a sigh of relief. The horror that had gripped them was no more. But while the shadow was gone, the legend lived on, a haunting tale told around hushed campfires and whispered in the dead of night. In the end, the real horror wasn't the shadow, but the fear it represented. And as dawn broke, the town was left with a chilling reminder: fear lurks within us all. A stark reminder that fear, much like the shadow, is a part of us, a shapeless entity that can only be conquered when faced head-on.